What's up, YouTube? Thank you for tuning in. If you like vintage clippers, especially Andis vintage clippers, you have come to the right place. I have some of the rarest clippers, which are quite hard to find, especially from the Andis Master collection and trimmers also. So I would like to educate all those who have yet to get their hands on a vintage clipper and what to look out for when you are purchasing a vintage clipper. So first off, I want to go ahead and get into my rarest clipper that I have, and here's a 1920s Andis Master clipper. Now this clipper is different from all the clippers that I have in my collection, so I'm going to show you why. As you can see, there's a lever on the back, but on the sides there's no lever. On both sides, no lever. So back in the day, on this particular clipper, to fade, you had to scroll to the right to do a triple out and scroll to the left to do a number one. And that's how the barbers back in those days had to fade. And this clipper is probably the rarest clipper and very hard to find, especially in a working condition. I actually fixed this clipper myself, but I'll get into that later on how to tune up your clippers. So as you can see, this clipper has a low and high setting, which were specifically made for the voltage. The voltage changes during that time. It has nothing to do with low or high speed. Next up, I have a Andis Master Deluxe, which was made in the 1920s. Also, this clipper on the outside is not in the best condition, but it's my quietest clipper that I have. And I had to find a couple of parts for it, especially the lever, because when I got it, the lever was kind of messed up. But this clipper is my quietest clipper, and it has 40 watts of power. Yes, 40 watts of power. And this clipper was probably the hardest clipper to find. It took me so long to find this clipper in a working condition. But next up, I have the Andis Senior, not Wall Senior, Andis Senior clipper. Probably didn't know Andis made a senior clipper. But the reason why I got into the vintage collection of clippers was specifically for one thing, and I'm going to show you why. So check this out. No wire. No wire. To the left, it's kind of blurred out, are some of the connections used for certain types of clippers that I have. And you have to be careful with these particular type of inputs, because if you're not, they can like really mess you up because of the power. In those times, there wasn't any type of really safety regulations. Like I almost burned my hand off trying to put one of the inputs into the 1920s through the 1930s models, especially one with that certain type of connection, not the rubber connections. But yes, you have to educate yourself, so I'm educating. So next up, I have my Andis Chief line of clipper and detachable Andis clippers. So to the left, I'm about to show you this clipper. This is a 1942 Andis Chief clipper. Now this is a special clipper because it has a fade blade, which I've yet to find any guard that can fit this blade. This specific clipper was designed especially for flat tops, crew cuts, and butch haircuts. These haircuts were surprisingly trending in the 1940s, so if you were a guy who had swag and had a butch haircut and a flat top or a crew cut, you had all the ladies and they were going crazy. So that's the history behind the Andis Chief. And on this clipper, there's a low and a high setting, and like I said in the beginning, this was only to adjust for the changing voltage during that time. It wasn't a steady voltage as we have now. So next up, I would like to show you my next clipper that I have, which is the Andis Power Chief. Now the difference between the Andis Power Chief and the Andis Chief is the Andis Power Chief doesn't have the low and the high setting, but it has the same blade as the original Andis Chief. And this clipper was made in 1959, and the original Andis Chief was 1942. Now this clipper is modified. As you can see, I have a new blade on this clipper, the modern blade on this clipper, and it made it run quieter. That's why I put it on it, because I just didn't want to have a clipper just for one type of haircut. I like to fade, not just with one blade that I cannot adjust. So next up, I have a 1963 Andis Detachable. Now I like the fact that this clipper, if you do the research, it came with 11 blades, but they are very hard to find. I only have 3 attachments, a 1/8, a 1/4, and a triple op, I believe. And it's very hard to find the attachments for this clipper. But the cons about this clipper is the body shape. It's not convenient for the shape of a barber's hand. We like comfort, we like things that go smoothly, and the design of this clipper, it just doesn't fit really good in your hand, and to cut with it is not the most pleasant. However, this is still a piece of history. The 1960s was a very controversial time in America. You had the civil rights movement going on, and I have a piece of history here, and I'm very thankful to get this clipper from a barber who was retired, and he sold me that clipper. So I will cherish it and keep it in the best condition I can. So next up, I want to show you some vintage trimmers. A lot of y'all probably thought that this type of trimmer came out in the 90s or something, but no, this trimmer is older than that, and it didn't even have the name of the Andis brand on it. This trimmer here, both trimmers are Electro Tool. Electro Tool was the brand that these trimmers were sold under. As you can see, the T outliner, Electro Tool. But here's what's very interesting. The patent belonged to one of the Andis family. So the patent in the design was by an Andis member. So what that tells me, or what I can conclude from that information, is that Andis just had a secondary brand for the trimmers that they were selling. Because when you look up the patent of this particular trimmer, even the outliner here, it was under the Electro Tool, but the patent belonged to one of the Andis family members. So this is not another brand and Andis copied from the brand. This is pretty much a design from one of the Andis family members. So they have a very rich culture, or a rich history of designing some very great trimmers and clippers. Andis, the first time that I switched over to Andis, I was a Walls guy, and the first time I switched over to Andis, like it changed my life, because being able to open the lever all the way to a 1 and drop it down to a 3 op, like, it gave me all of the room I needed to fade without, you know, using certain guards and whatnot. I just like the Andis system, and I could cut it with the wall system also. But next up, I have a very, very rare trimmer. Yes, this trimmer is the grandfather of the outliner. It's the whisker. And as you can see, the design is crazy. The aesthetics on it. It came in a box. It just look at this. It came in a box. Pretty box. It has some type of gold wrapping around the wires, and there's this cover on it, and like the detail. And I'm gonna show you how it looks with that cover off, and I'm gonna also show you how all these trimmers and clippers sound, so you can be familiar of how a good clipper should sound, especially if you're buying it vintage. If it doesn't sound like what I'm showing you today, guys, you know, you may have to send it to a technician to get it adjusted, which it takes. You can't just adjust it yourself. You got to get someone who knows what it's doing. So next up, I have a I believe this is a 1959 Andis Master Model M. And look at the detail on this. Look at this. Look at the detail. You can see the tripper out, the in between, the half. It's like their detail was so beautiful during those days. I don't think they make clippers like this anymore. But this was an Andis Master Model M, and it had the low and high setting on it also. Now next up, I believe what I'm about to grab is the let me look at this. Oh yeah, this is a Andis Improved Master from the 1970s. This is an Andis Improved Master. So the improved models didn't come with the two settings. So they were improved. You didn't have to switch in between for the voltage. They were adjusted for the voltage that was unstable during those days. But however, the model that I just showed you was improved. Now this is the same type of clipper, exact type of clipper, but it's a Model M from the 1970s. It's a Model M clipper, and it's a Master Model M from the 1970s. And like I said, the Model M's come with the low and the high settings, along with the Andis Chief come with the low and the high setting. Now this is a 1959 improved Andis Master, and if you can predict, it doesn't have the low and the high setting. And this is by far my favorite clipper out of all the clippers that I have in my vintage collection. The reason why is this clipper, it doesn't get hot fast at all. It doesn't get hot fast. You can cut with it for a long time. Unlike these right here, wow, they just get really, really hot. It gets too hot. But like the Model M, the Improved Master, the 1930s and the 1970 versions, they don't get hot pretty fast. But the Improved is the one that I'm pointing to. Yes, the one that I'm tapping on right now. Yes. If you find these, get it, and hopefully you get a good clipper. You know, not something that is broken or tampered with. And that's what you have to be careful when you're searching for these clippers. You want to zoom in on the photos of these clippers. You also want to ask as many questions as you can from these sellers, because they just want to make a sale. You have to, ask all the questions that you have. Like, when did you get it? Like, is there any problems with it? Does it come on? Is the blade broken? Does the lever move? Does it power on? Like all these questions, you have to, because I'm telling you, they're going to sell you. Some of these sellers know nothing about these clippers. They just found it somewhere, maybe at a Goodwill or something, and they don't know nothing about clippers. But as a barber, you know what to look for. Ask about the condition of the wire, the lever, the blade. Does it power on? All these things. Ask questions. And if they can't answer, then you're gonna have to make a quick judgment or just pass on the clipper itself. But nevertheless, there are some good clippers out there, and make sure you get every picture of every side of the clipper. And also, there's the power adjustment on the side of the clipper. You have to also check that, make sure that hasn't been tampered with. You can tell when someone has used a flathead screwdriver and turning it and messing things up. Hopefully I gave you everything you need to buy a good clipper. So this is the Model ML 1970s. This is another Model ML 1970s. Cursive edition. This is the Andis Model M 1970s. This is the 1959 improved Andis Master original. This is the 1963 Andis Detachable. This is a 1942 Andis Chief with the original blade. And this is the Model M, I believe 1959. Here we have an Andis Power Chief, 1959, modified. And here we have the Andis Senior, made in 1937. Let's check it out. And this is the outliner. And here we have the 1925 Andis Master dial adjustment. Andis Master Deluxe. This thing is quiet, man. It's like, this probably the quietest Andis Master Clipper ever made. And it's 40 watts. I wish I could go show y'all how I cut through things. But this thing is quiet. This is the Andis Master Deluxe. This thing is quiet, man. This is the T outliner, Electro T outliner. And this is the whisker. Cut quiet and run. 1930s. 1930s, man. So this is my collection. And if you like the box or the case that I have that all these clippers are in, the link will certainly be below. And one more thing, with the clippers like the Senior and the dial adjustment and the Deluxe, you have to be careful with putting the wire in. Make sure that clipper is off. Do not have it on. You might burn your hand off. And please don't power these clippers on if you don't know nothing about clippers. If you don't know how to clean them, send it to a technician. FYI, thank you for tuning in.